If you want to find Genesis 11 in your Bibles, we'll just read through that account. Genesis 11, starting at the first verse. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and break them thoroughly. They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, Indeed, the people are one, and they have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. So going back to the very beginning of human civilization, an event which took place, really the first event which is described in the Bible after the flood and after people began to resettle the world, takes place in a place called Babel, Bavel in Hebrew, which is the same word as Babylon. In fact, one of the confusions you have in the Bible is that in this case it's called Bavel, but later on in our translations it's Babylon. But it's the same word, Bavel. Bavel, which actually means confusion. And Babel or Babylon becomes a city, a symbol of a city in opposition to God. And if you look through the Bible, you've got a conflict, if you like, between Babylon and Jerusalem, city of the devil and the city of God. And when you look in the Bible, it comes to its climax in the Revelation with the Babylon the Great in Revelation chapter 17, religious system, Babylon as a commercial and political system in chapter 18 of Revelation. And you can see that there are certain principles relating to Babylon, Bavel against the Lord's people here in this passage in book of Genesis, and things which are relevant to the end time proposition. So first thing we see is that the Tower of Babel was the first event which really takes place after the flood. And when you look into the flood narrative, you see that after the flood, God gave a command to the survivors of the flood to go into the world and to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So the Lord blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the air, and on all that move on the earth. And on all fish of the sea, they are given into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I've given you all things, even as the green herbs, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. Surely your lifeblood I will demand, for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it. From the hand of man, from the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man. But as for you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. Just as a little word of introduction, I do believe that the flood really happened, that it was a worldwide event, and that the events which are described here in the Bible are historical, not just mythological. When we look at this passage, we see that God commanded the survivors of the flood to go out of the ark, to multiply, and to establish some sort of a governmental system and spread out across the earth. Now, it's interesting when you look at Rabbinic Judaism that they have they have derived from this passage in the book of Genesis and also from some other passages a theory that God gave to Noah 7 laws which are to be a moral code for all of humanity. And basically they are these. They said that there's to establish courts of law. So there's even in the passage about the life being in the flesh and taking the life is a kind of legal system which requires them to have a court of law to decide upon it. So you had to create some kind of a justice system to uphold the laws, which means some kind of local government. Goes on to say, don't blaspheme God, refrain from cursing God, don't commit idolatry, don't worship idols, don't commit murder, safeguard the sanctity of human life, don't commit sexual immorality, avoid illicit sexual relationships, do not steal, respect the property of others, and do not eat the flesh of a living animal. That's apparently to prevent cruelty to animals. Now that's rabbinic teaching, and according to the rabbis, that's actually what all of Gentiles are supposed to keep. So if you're a Gentile, if you're not a Jew, those are your laws. If you're Jewish, you've got the Ten Commandments and all the Torah. But rabbis say this is for the Gentiles to keep. They should keep these laws. Did once ask a Orthodox Jew, well, if this is the case, personally, I've lived in a Jewish area for probably the last 40 years. I've even worked in a Jewish school. I'm a Gentile. No Jew has ever come to tell me that I have to keep these laws. And he said, well, you should. I then did meet some people from the Lubavitch, the ultra-Orthodox group who are trying to convert Jews to Judaism, or bring them back to Judaism. And he got talking to me. I gave him a few answers, and he thought I was Jewish until I told him actually I was not. And he said, oh, well, you don't have to keep all these laws anyway. So he gave me a little pamphlet which did give the 7 laws of Noah, said these are what you're supposed to keep. So I said, thanks very much, but I actually keep the law of Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah, which he wasn't so keen to hear about. But basically, there is an idea in these passages that God did give to Noah a pattern to live by, and that these laws are actually genuinely ones which Gentiles should keep, which everyone should keep.